Tom Danheiser, producing for Coast to Coast AM, really the guy behind so much of it, and the great team there at Coast to Coast AM, the whole family. You guys have a hard work schedule. How often do you guys fly around the country to affiliates?
Maybe once every 2 months, once every 3 months.
So Austin, out of 500 plus markets, must be a special market. You guys come here every year.
We come every year to Talkfest. Mark and the guys at KLBJ, and of course you. We really like you guys.
I've really, in the 3 times I've been involved, I've really appreciated it. And Tom, it's been a great experience, and I appreciate you including me in it.
You're one of the best out there.
Thanks a lot. Folks, it's Tom Danheiser, one of the main guys behind Coast to Coast AM. He's a sweetheart. He brings you all those great guests. Thanks, Tom. CoastToCoastAM.com.
You need to write back and say, no, here's the... That's true. Okay.
Well, I'm here with my friend George Noory in Austin, Texas at Talkfest. This is his 3rd time around in town. I'm always honored that he's invited me here. George, thanks for being here.
Hello, Alex. Always a pleasure, my friend.
You bet. So much is happening in the world. You're always interviewing me, but I'd like to interview you. What do you think is most important in society right now? The changes that are happening, the awakening, or the tyranny that's coming in?
I think it's all a combination of everything. It's the awakening, it's knowing about the tyranny, and it's knowing what to do about it when all this happens. I think what's happening to society right now is people are beginning to become aware that they are getting the short end of the stick, and they are fed up. They are tired about it. They're tired about people forcing things down their throat. They're tired about people threatening to take away their guns. They're tired about getting overtaxed. They are just fed up. And this pressure cooker, which I call the pressure cooker of life, has got to get changed and has got to get released, or it's going to blow up. And what is happening is 3,000 people out there, and they all have their own topic ideas. So you can't restrict yourself to a smaller area of topics. You've got to be more widespread.
George, just 2 more questions. I want to get into the New World Order underestimating the power of the people, just repeating what you said last night, the points you brought up. But also I want to spend some time on Worker on the Light and Workers on the Light. Tell us about Worker in the Light and then the sequel that's about to come out, Workers in the Light.
Worker in the Light, of course, is about my experiences in the paranormal world. Some of the experiments that I've done and some of the techniques I've used in order to tap into what I have always called a wireless internet in the universe. A path that will take you to incredible places, an incredible journey. Workers in the Light are real stories from people who have read the book and have used some of these techniques or events have happened in their lives. So we put them together. And we've got some other things coming out, Nero Blaze, the Time Traveler. My big favorite book, which will come out in about a year and a half, of which you will be in it, is called Talktown USA. And it's about America's craze for talk shows and how talk shows have saved us from pure insanity.
I think they have, because it gives the people a chance to interact, to talk to each other. It's been the venue that so many times has stopped tyranny, like the forced inoculation of the medical workers and police in 2002, which you fought, and it came out that the smallpox was killing people, and that whole program stopped.
Yep. And we've got more to do, more hurdles to jump.
George, the New World Order, do you think they're going to win, and have they underestimated the power of the people, the awakening?
I don't know if they're going to win, but I'll tell you what, they are in for one hell of a fight with us, Alex.
From coast to coast, it's time to give a big KLBJ welcome to the man who keeps you stimulated throughout the late night airwaves.
Yeah, let's hear it for George Noory.
Hello, Austin. 3 times a charm.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I'm Mark Caesar with Mr. George Noory. Great to have you back in Austin.
Always a pleasure. Mark, I got to tell you, I spend a lot of my time between Los Angeles and St. Louis.
Yes.
And coming to Austin is as close to coming home of any other city I've been in.
Well, thank you very much. You are always welcome in Austin, George. We love you here, and the show is phenomenal. We just got some more ratings in the other day, and he has over 30% of the people listening to radio at night are listening to you. That is incredible. That's unheard of. It's just phenomenal.
Well, that's
congratulations.
Austin. Thank you very much. Now, you got to tell me, what's this thing with these bats under this Congress bridge? Whoa! I thought for a while that I saw Mothman, that big statue down there. And then our promotion director, Adam, was telling me about this incredible story of 1.5 million bats that fly in and out during the springtime and summertime.
Oh, that's a big attraction.
Unbelievable. And I guess they eat all the bugs, right? So that's why you keep them.
Exactly.
You coexist.
Bug control, yes.
I happen to have one with me that I'm going to release now into the audience.
We're going to be taking some of your questions for George, so if you want to start getting in line over here for the crowd mic, please do so. Let's start off with Stephenville. I know you've been talking about the UFO sightings. What are your thoughts on what's happening up there?
Well, you know, the Air Force now says that there were 10 F-16s that were flying up in the skies over Texas. Unfortunately, they waited weeks and weeks and weeks to release that information. What I would like them to do, and what we're going to try to do on Coast to Coast, is get these pilots from those planes. Because I've been in the Navy for 9 years, and most of you who have been in the military, there comes a point where you say, I'm going to tell the truth, right? And these guys will tell us what's going on. I don't think there was a formation of F-16s up that night. Not like that, Mark.
No, I agree with you. There are so many witnesses, and these are very credible people who are coming forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a great story. Hey, by the way, you have a state fair in this state, but it's where, in Dallas? Well, see, when I live in St. Louis, right across the river, of course, is Illinois, so a lot of times I would spend my time going to the state fair in Springfield, Illinois. And every year that I was there was an elderly couple there standing by a helicopter ride pad. And every year this guy, I found out his name was Eric, and his wife's name was Edna, not JC's Edna. And every year they would argue because he wanted to take a helicopter ride. And it was $50. And every year he'd say, Edna, I want to take this helicopter ride. And she said, no, Eric, $50 is $50. You're not going. I mean, and this happened for 6 years that I would go to the state fair. Finally, on the last year that I was there, I heard them arguing again, and she said, you're not going. $50 is $50. The pilot, apparently, after 6 years, got so tired of hearing this couple that he said, listen to you two. I'm going to give you a free helicopter ride. Absolutely free. Here's the deal. Don't say one word in the helicopter. So Edna looked at Eric and went, well, not a bad deal. Even though $50 is $50. You gotta be quiet, Eric. And he said, I will, Edna. Rolled his eyes, and in the helicopter they went. Now, this chopper pilot was a ex-Marine. And he is taking them on a ride that you can only imagine. Flips, turns, up, down. Not a word. He couldn't believe it. He finally lands. And he's talking to himself over his shoulder. And he says, I can't believe you people. I flew up. I flew down. Tumbles. Not a word. Not one word. It's free. And Eric said, well, I was going to say something when Edna fell out, but $50. $50. Back to you.
Great one, George. Great one. You want to take some questions now?
Absolutely.
From the good folks here at the Austin Convention Center for Talkfest. Hi there, ma'am. What's your first name and what's your question for George?
My first name is Patty, and is it all right to just relate a UFO story? 1969, Aspen Music Festival. It was 12,000 feet up in the air. I went and had a fight with my roommate, so I went up in the mountain looking at the stars. Back then, we were safe. And about 11 o'clock comes a meteor-like thing. It stalks over Aspen. It's the classical saucer shapes with the dome and the orange lights around. I recorded it in my diary, and then I went 3 o'clock is fast, 3,000 miles an hour.
Sure.
The next day, I ran into a piano player who was doing tarot cards. And he goes, something strange happened last
Wait a minute,
night.
a piano player that does tarot?
Yes. Remember, this is Aspen in the 60s. And he said something strange happened. He showed me his palm, and an S had appeared and is underneath the skin. He said, my name is Seth. We decided to go where he felt he had been contacted the night before. So we went to this, where they were building a new hospital in essence, very beautiful small town.
Sure.
I sat on a rock, holding my hands, waiting for him to do the tarot to see if we should continue. I had long hair then. I was wearing an astrology symbol. I was seated between two lit pillars. It's, the upshot being, he did the final card, which was Isis, the exact replica of me, sitting on the rock. Isis had the picture, the girl with the long hair, the emblem, the whole perfect picture. I looked at him, he looked at me, I said, I'm getting out of here. And, you know, that was the end of my UFO experience.
But you didn't marry him?
No, but I just know someone in your coast-to-coast world from 1969 Aspen will hear this and maybe they'll go, oh my gosh, yes, I was there too, I saw it too.
Great.
And there are shadow people, I did see one of those
They're
too.
everywhere. Hey, did you listen to our Doors program this week? Isn't that something? I got to tell you, what a great experience to be talking to two members of the Doors who worked with Jim Morrison every day of his life. And to finally find out from them that they think that he is indeed gone. Except they kind of left it, Robbie did, right at the end, like, I'm pretty sure he's gone, but we just never saw his body. You think Jim Morrison's still alive? Nah.
Well, they both felt, though, that if he were alive, he would be on stage performing.
Absolutely. He never stopped.
Yeah.
He never stopped.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Hi, what's your name?
Megan.
Hi, Megan.
Megan. Why did they give you two names? Like Megan.
I had a ghost kind of experience, and we had this ornament tacked up on a bulletin board, and I was walking away, I walked about 2 yards away, and it hit my back. Amazingly, I looked back, and you could feel the pressure. It wasn't like it had just dropped from nowhere. And it was the exact same ornament that was on the bulletin board. The one on the bulletin board was gone, and the tack had moved that I tacked it up with. And it was weird because if it had fallen and the tack had come loose or something, it would have fallen straight down, not 2 yards away.
So what do you think happened to you, Megan?
I don't really know because it wasn't. I would have suspected less had it just felt like you dropped from straight down, but it wasn't from straight down. It was diagonal, as if you had thrown it overhead, and you could feel the pressure.
Were you afraid?
Yeah, a little.
Not anymore?
Not yet.
How old are you? How old are you?
Oh, 11.
All right, that's a good age. Thanks, Megan.
Thank you, Megan. Have a good afternoon.
Hey, how many of you have listened to Coast since the inception of the program, when Art started it? How many of you...
That's a pretty good show of hands.
Yeah, it is, because it's been going on a long time. How about 5 years since I've been... Well, there's a lot.
Yeah.
And how many of you are brand new listeners? A few of you, too.
Anybody here from out of town? Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, anything like that? Yeah, great. Thank you for coming in today.
Just a show of your hands, because this will help me. You know, we've kind of tweaked the program a little bit. It still is 75% unusual and paranormal. But ever since I got to know Alex, and I'm going to bring Alex up next hour, Alex Jones, we've also pushed this program into a different direction, which I think is so vital today. And that direction, of course, is to protect you, to protect all of you from some unscrupulous people who are out there to take advantage of everything they can, not only in this country, but in this world. And that's the direction we're going to continue to take it. We'll still have our fun, we'll still do those same old shows, but I hope you enjoy them.
Very good. We're live at the Austin Convention Center. It's Talkfest 2008. I'm Mark Caesar with George Noory. More with George coming up in just a moment.
George is a wonderful human being. He cares about people. I've never seen anybody that works as hard as he does to protect people in this world. Because, as you guys all know, we get the shaft on a lot of things. And George is just like one big protector. But other than that, he's just a great guy. He's a good friend of mine. Of course, I work with him, and And I can't say enough about the guy. He's just a really good guy, and it shows because Coast to Coast AM is #1. And people, there's that likability factor with George, and all around great guy is what I'll say. Well, George usually gets in about 2 p.m. I'm rolling after that a little bit. And what we first do is we look what's going on during the day, because the first hour of the show is one of the most important to us. That sets the tone for the rest of the night. So we look, and if there's a hot news story going on, we'll try to get a figure that's involved in that to come on that night. We'll look at what topic's going on. If there's, like a drug or something that the FDA has approved, we'll try to get an expert on that. So we keep that first hour very topical and an hour that will really set the tone for the rest of the night.
Welcome back to Talkfest 2008. Here's George.
Another big Austin welcome for the king of late night radio, Mr. George Noory. Very happy to have him with us here in Austin again for KLBJ Talkfest. Third time we've done this. It just gets better every year.
Are you going to invite me back again next year?
Absolutely. It's automatic. It's guaranteed.
Let's hope I don't fall into a mud hole. Did you all hear that story? Should I say it again? Do you want to hear the story? I'll do it.
Okay, let's do it again.
For those of you who didn't have the luxury of hearing this story, of course, this is my 3rd time in Austin, Texas. And I'm just having a great time. And after the show last night, producer Tom and I and the rest of the KLBJ staff walked out a special exit that they had built for me. And they had some sprinkler running all night long. All night long. And I guess the top of the sprinkler must have broken off or something.
That's what I hear, yes.
And anyway, I was the lead walker. That's how much protection I get from my producer, right? I go first. And so I saw what was probably a half an inch of what I thought was water. And so I stepped into this 8-foot hole. Now, down I go. I mean, it's not like I fell in the hole. I mean, down I went, rolling along. And as you know, I live between St. Louis and LA, so I didn't bring a lot of clothes, because I've got duplicate stuff in 2 cities. So I'm saying, I can't go to the convention tomorrow. I am drenched. I'm full of mud. Tom says, oh, don't worry about it. I'll go to the store for you. I couldn't even go to the store. I had no clothes to get up and go. So he wakes up at 9:30 in the morning, which is very early for him, and goes rushing off to some store and picks up what I'm wearing now. And while I'm in the hotel room, looking over the rest of Austin from my 9th floor, stark naked, down rolls 2 window washers. And I had to tell him my name was Mike Savage.
And then Clark Howard gives you a hard time.
And boy, did his ratings plummet after that.
Oh, that's great. Hi, sir. Good afternoon. You're on KLBJ Live with George Noory. What's your name?
My name's John Sadowski.
Hi, John.
I talked to you last year about this time. But the government's lying again. They said there was only a 16 up in Stephenville. But it was a 16 3 football long.
Yeah, that's a pretty big F-16, isn't it? 900 feet long. Now.
I hope they can get it going.
All right. Thanks, John.
All right, thank you. You have a good day.
Yep. Now, there's somebody with an Area 51 shirt. Did you work there?
No.
Do you have a Area 51 story for us?
Actually, no.
Then why are you wearing that shirt?
My name is Vincent. I'm from Waco, Texas.
Hi, Vincent.
And it's actually kind of about shadow people. I've never actually seen one myself, but I don't know if you remember the 2nd series of The Twilight Zone that was on during the 80s. But instead of just like one story, it was like 2 or 3
Was
stories.
that was in the night gallery, wasn't it?
No, it was actually Twilight Zone. It was in the 80s.
My first name's Patty, and is it all right to just relate a UFO story?
Some of the stories from back in the 60s.
I don't remember that. Does anybody remember that? But that's okay.
It aired until about the early 90s.
Okay.
But like in the very first season, the first few episodes, like I said, instead of one story, like 2 or 3 stories in 1 hour. And the second story was actually called The Shadow Man. But the way that they had this actor dressed, that would come and rise up out of underneath this boy's bed, was exactly the same. Big brim hat, all dressed in black, with like a really whispery voice. I am the Shadow Man. I will never bother the person underneath whose bed I live. And I'm just thinking that the writer of that episode must have had some sort of experience.
Of course, that's how they got that. Yeah.
But when I started hearing about shadow people years ago, I was thinking, that reminds me a lot of that. And I don't know if that's like available on YouTube or DVD, because I've seen even recent episodes of, I think it might be a new Twilight Zone. I don't know. Jessica Simpson was in one episode. I don't know, but
Jessica Simpson. What was she, 10 then?
Or? Oh no, this one was more recent. Must have been sometime in the early 2000s. But I remember that one. It was in the mid 80s.
All right.
And I just thought I don't know if you'd ever had seen that or
no,
not.
No, I don't remember that one.
It might be something to look for if you ever get a chance.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're working all the time, George. Do you get to enjoy movies? Do you see very many films?
You mean at the theaters?
Just, yeah, or at home?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
I'm not going to talk to you about my personal life, Mark. It's not your
Hi, ma'am. Good afternoon. You're on KLBJ. What's your name?
My name is Sue Ann,
Hi.
and I'm so glad you're here in Austin. This is great. My family are missionaries in Haiti, and I go to Haiti every few years. They've been there like over 30 years. Wow. And they have a medical kind of missionary thing that they do. And I've had a lot of dreams about, wondered if you knew anything about any kind of tunnels under the country of Haiti. I was kind of asking several years ago before I went to sleep, because I really tried to get some real understanding about all that. And as far as like behind the door evil dwells kind of thing, and I just kind of wondered, I tried to do research on it, and I heard there were tunnels. And I just wondered if you knew anything about that.
There are tunnels under most land masses.
Okay.
And what's in those tunnels is anybody's guess. You've heard many of the guests come on Coast to Coast. They talk about these strange beings that might live underground, different kinds of creatures. But in terms of Haiti, yes, there are tunnels there. What goes on in there, who knows? Wouldn't it be interesting if there was some hidden society that went underground?
That's kind of the way
thousands of years ago.
Right, that's kind of what I've wondered, because being over there is such another planet anyway, you know, such a different consciousness. So.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks a lot. Have a good afternoon. We've got much more coming up with George Noory. He's going to be here with us until 4 o'clock live at the Convention Center on KLBJ. It's Talkfest 2008. More with George right after the news on KLBJ.
George, what do you think we're going to be talking about in the hour that I'm going to be up on stage with you about? Just taking people's questions and
how I fell in the mud overnight and stuff like that.
Well, I wasn't going to bring that up.
How you pushed me.
Uh-oh.
Trying to take over Coast to Coast.
All right, folks, wait.
Sinister conspiracy. This man has been trying to get me for years. I know his agenda. He's like the Illuminati, and I'm onto it.
Oh, my God.
I love it. That's Alex Jones. Alex, I got to go. I got to get up there.
Now they're going to think there's going to be a conspiracy. Because now they're really going to think I did push you in the mud. That's going to be...
You never know. Your handprints are all over my jacket.
You know what happened in reality is they take him out the back door. They got the bodyguard there. You know, the station provider's been a lot of people coming to the station. And there's this sunken pavement about 6 inches filled with water from the sprinklers. And I almost fell over when I was trying to help him. And then the bodyguard almost fell over. It was so slick. That was insane.
But it got worse because I'm in my room this morning, stark naked, and window washers come down.
That's right. You had to send Tom out to get you another change of clothes at Macy's.
I got to run.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
You're listening to Talkfest 2008 highlights. KLBJ.com. Welcome back to Talkfest 2008. Once again,
And then thanks to all of you for coming down to the Austin Convention Center. We're having a great time at Talkfest 2008.
You're not George Noory. The guy said, here's George Noory. You jumped in and started talking.
That's a bad habit that I have.
You're taking over my show.
That's right. Tell the folks a little bit about the guiding philosophy of the show, Coast to Coast AM.
Oh, we've got an incredible staff. Many of you have heard me talk about producer Tom. haven't you? The person who killed my plant when I was in St. Louis. You know him. And I was thinking of buying an iguana, letting Tommy take care of that, but I didn't want to come back to a crinkly, dry iguana either. But there's producer Tom, and Tom, even though this is radio, stand up and say hello to everybody, would you? Absolutely stunning producer, works his tail off for me and never stops working. But we've got another group of staff back in Los Angeles and Medford, Oregon as well that really, you know, ever since I took over for Art, and you know how big those shoes were, thank God for Dr. Scholl's and foot padding, right? So but Art's a unique character and a different person. And back in September of 2002, after I'd been filling in for him, and I don't know how many of you knew the structure of what was going on, but back in St. Louis, as I was called the Nighthawk, I did my show from 9 p.m. to midnight Central Time. And there were many nights that Art could not do coast to coast. And the network was tired of running tapes all the time. So they were starting to look ferociously for his backup.
Right.
And, you know, we did a lot of similar things that Art did on Coast to Coast, so it was a natural evolution for us. But many nights after I did my 9 to 12 local show, I would get a call from the network, maybe even as late as 11 o'clock or 11:30, saying, Art's back is bad, he can't go on, can you do the show? And during the commercial break, I would prepare Coast to Coast.
Really?
For that night.
Your show prep was during the breaks?
Yep, while I was doing my local show. And then I would go into the studio, we had a second studio, and I would wait there to see if Art's voice would come on. And after the Coast to Coast open, if we didn't hear Art, they turned my mic on. And I did the program. Now, we did that for probably about 4 months. Many nights I was on the air for 7 or 8 hours in a row. And then one night, Art called the network and said, just don't want to do it anymore. Just do weekends. I'm going to retire. Again. And so we cut a deal, and here I am. And we just renewed again for another 5 years.
That's super news. Congratulations. Very well deserved.
But the philosophy of the program, as I was saying, has changed and has evolved, where I cannot let those airwaves go on anymore while so many people in this country are getting the short end of the stick. I think it's irresponsible, and somebody has got to help be a watchdog for so many things. And I think, as you will hear from Alex next hour with me, there are many things that we've done on this program that I'm very proud of, that I think we may have stopped or slowed down because of just the publicity of the things that have been going on. And this I will pledge you, and no, I'm not running for the presidency in 2012, not yet. This I can pledge you on Coast to Coast. We will continue to be your eyes and ears and watch your back.
I think one good example is Morgellons disease. Your coverage of that was quite extensive, wasn't it?
We finally, whatever this disease is, this creepy, crawly disease that so many people claim that they have, we finally got the FDA to do a study of it. And that took 2 years.
2 years, yeah. Any idea how many people are suffering with that right now?
I would say thousands.
Thousands.
Thousands. Can you imagine an affliction where you have the feeling of insects under your skin? Think about that for a moment.
24/7.
24/7.
That would be a nightmarish condition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Horrible.
So you realize that covering current events and being the watchdog is a very important role for you now in
It's
America.
critical.
Yeah.
It's critical. And, you know, most of the mainstream media does not do that. Lou Dobbs does on CNN. Lou does a great job on that. And I would just wish in this year, though this is not a political show, as you well know, we'll probably ask the final candidates to come on the show so you have an opportunity to talk to them and call. They probably won't come on. It is unfortunate, and I'm not endorsing anybody because I'm not I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Libertarian, I'm George Noory. I am who I am. But it's unfortunate that you can't get the kind of exposure that someone like Ron Paul would need, right, to do what he does. I mean, he may be the only guy out there that I really, truly believe has no agenda other than want to support and help you. And I would hope, because I unfortunately don't think he's going to get the nomination, just because the media will not allow him to. I would hope whoever the candidate is smart enough to bring him in some form or capacity. But this country needs to stop doing what it's doing and get this place rolling again. I mean, look what's happening with the subprime mortgage situation. I'm not going to ask you for a show of hands to ask you if you were in financial distress, because that's personal and private for you. But I would guess a lot of us are in this country, and nobody's doing anything about it. You spend $1 trillion in Iraq, that money could have gone here. It could have built new bridges to avoid what happened in Minneapolis, St. Paul. It could have created better schools for people. It could have created a better health care system. It could have pumped more money into the economy to create more jobs and to help people. And we're just not doing that. And so, honestly, this election this year, you got to vote, but I don't think there's anybody there to vote for anymore.
Are you going to be doing more shows devoted to the financial situation?
With the coast-to-coast twist, with the spin on why it's occurred. I mean, there's no doubt, and you will all agree, they want the economy of the United States to plummet because they want this control over all of us. You'll hear more about that with Alex next hour. Now, 5 or 10 years ago, Mark, I would have thought that was preposterous. If somebody was going to tell me that, I would have said, nope, absolutely not. You're nuts.
What changed your thinking?
Alex Jones did.
Very impressive.
So what I did with him is I took this guy who was not heard at that time by a lot of people.
Yes.
And I studied him, and I investigated him, and I did my homework and due diligence, and found out that he wasn't a whack job. He was just an excitable guy who knew the truth. And so I put him on the air.
Alex is excitable?
And yeah. As a matter of fact, Alex has been waiting here since Monday to get on the show. Monday. He was outside the door of KLBJ for 2 weeks for last night's show.
Yes.
He didn't want to miss it.
We love that passion and zeal. It's
but
very
you know
cool.
what? A lot of people don't understand him. You know, they think that he doesn't like this country. That's the farthest from the truth. What he doesn't like is to have you get the shaft. And we need more people like that. And we're going to, by the way, all of you waiting in line for calls, we're going to do that right after the next break.
Yes, yes we are. And we'll get to you folks in just a couple of minutes coming up here on KLBJ. You have some guests who are regulars, Alex being among those. Are there some that draw the most response from your audience?
Well, you know what they all do, Mark. I think one of the successes of Coast to Coast is we bring in such a variety of people. I mean, Richard Hoagland with his crazy theories of everything. Isn't he great? Did you see that picture on our website of that little Martian sitting on the edge? They say it was a rock. It looked like Bigfoot to me, didn't it? But we've got a lot of people, like Linus McCants, our numerologist, who seems to be right on. Dr. Turi and his incredible predictions. Sean David Morton. All of them. They all do a wonderful job. The one I haven't had on in a long time is Sylvia Brown. Poor Sylvia. You know, she's just missed too many, and so we've kind of backed off her for a little bit.
Yeah. And you've got some others, of course, that you bring on from time to time in the field of religion and archaeology that are just fascinating. They're incredible.
Glenn Kimball, Michael Cremo,
Yeah.
who believes mankind is millions of years old. One of my favorite hard news guests, Jerome Corsi, great guy. Jerry is out there investigating everything and fully aware of the problems along the border here, for example.
Good stuff. All right, we'll get to more of your questions for George Noory here at Talkfest. We're live at the Austin Convention Center. I'm Mark Caesar with George Noory of Coast to Coast AM. More coming up just ahead.
It's really unreal. In a lot of these cities, they'll go, ratings work on shares, and it's the share of the audience that listens to the radio. And just one of my real quick favorite stories is I remember 2 books ago, the book is like the diary in radio. That's what we go by. And 2 books ago, it was Oklahoma that went from a 0.9 to a 0.1. And what that means is they went all the way from 9 down to number 1. Coast became, it was almost like everybody in that city, when they turned on their radio, was listening to Coast to Coast. That's what the share is like when the ratings companies add those up. It was amazing. It was really amazing. We're number 1 in New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Austin. Can't forget Alex's city. A lot of people cannot listen at night, and especially on the East Coast, the show is a little later. So what we offer is we offer people Streamlink, which for a very minimal fee, they can subscribe and get the last 90 days worth of shows from their computer, so they can actually download them and burn them on CD. They can listen whenever they want, and it's a pretty popular thing, and a lot of people do subscribe to it.
Welcome back to Talkfest 2008. Here's George Noory.
And I'm Mark Caesar with George Noory.
It's rolling along. It's going fast, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. 2:50, 10 minutes before 3 o'clock, and we are having a great time at the Austin Convention Center. If you're driving around right now, you still have time to come join us. Remember, it's free. Exhibit Hall number 2 at the Austin Convention Center. And for those of you who are here right now, we shot a little bit of behind-the-scenes video of George last night at KLBJ.
Oh, really?
Yes. Not in the mud hole.
I'm told I am on your security cameras.
Is that right?
And my attorneys will be calling you soon. I will own KLBJ.
And the entire MS Corporation.
And I'll keep a few of you on the air still.
Thank you. But anyway, check out on YouTube. We've got some video of George doing the show last night. I understand it's already received thousands of hits today.
Has it really?
Yes.
Why?
But check it out when you have a chance. It's good stuff. Let's work in a couple of more questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
George. All right. Hi, sir. What's your name?
My name is Eric. From Austin.
Eric, you tried to sit on my knee to get a picture today, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
You're the reason I'm limping right now, Eric.
Thank you. I got a question about if I've lived in Austin pretty much my whole life, and I've heard kind of rumors about back in Wimberley, there's a portal to like another dimension or something like that. Can you remember in any other show of, not necessarily of Wimberley, but any other geographical location where there might be a portal or anything to that effect to other dimensions, anywhere?
They say there's a portal in Iraq. They say that there's one by Mount Shasta, in a couple other regions. You know what? Who knows? Mel's Hole could have been a portal,
right,
for all we know.
Well, I've been listening since the time of Art Bell, and you have a natural fit since his final retirement and stuff like that. And love your show.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot. Glad you came down to Talkfest. Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Hi.
What's your name?
I'm Dow.
Hey, Dal.
George, we're continually inundated with chemtrail spraying. It's a good day in Austin when I look up today and see a GN up there. It looked like they were going for GW, but he actually ran out. So, congratulations. Could you please give us an update on what HARP is, a short synopsis for the crowd?
Sure.
And the latest in any actions that people are actually trying to bring about some kind of solution as to what to do, what direction to take this. Whether it be class action lawsuits, we see the freaky weather continually. Lives are being lost on a daily basis.
Well, you probably will never be able to get a lawsuit until one of those pilots who might be dumping this stuff on us decides finally to go public and tell us. And, and as you know, we've talked about the various scenarios and possibilities of what they could be, whether it's weather control, whether they're trying to dumb us down with Prozac in the skies. There is no doubt in my mind that whatever's going on up there is being done on purpose. It's just too obvious when you look up in the skies and it's clear in the morning, and then by late in the afternoon, the place looks like a tic-tac-toe board. And this is not just jet vapor at all. We know that. I don't know exactly, Dell, what it is, other than I know they're spraying something on us. And as far as HARP is concerned, they're beaming signals into the atmosphere, and I don't think it's for the purposes that we would like, honestly. Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks for your question. Are you getting reports nationwide, George, about the chemtrails?
Always. We always have.
Yeah, from everywhere. Yeah. Hi, ma'am. Good afternoon. You're on KLBJ. What's your first name?
My name's Marina.
Hello, Marina.
It's nice to meet you, George.
Thank you.
And I'm pretty much convinced that Art's not ready to really give up the kingdom of Nye yet.
He's going to hang around part-time every once in a while.
Yeah, every time he disappears, he comes back, which is always nice to hear him.
Yeah.
Anyway, George, as the saying goes, what's disclosed here in Austin stays in Austin.
Perfect.
So that being said, something I want you to come clean on.
Okay.
The guests that you have and their different topics, there's a certain percentage of them that I can buy into. I think they're probably true. I can't quite believe everything. I want to know if you actually believe everything that your guests tell you on your show. And also, is there any topics that you don't discuss because of any retribution, or that you maybe think it's not a very good idea to discuss those on your show?
Okay, two great questions. Number one, does it matter what I believe?
Yes, it does.
Why? Why? The magic,
well, you're kind of the guru of this, George.
The magic of Coast to Coast is for you to decide what the guest does. It's, you don't need to hear me berate a guest, put him down.
No, and you don't. You're
No.
nice to
See,
them.
but that's my rule. Do I believe everything they say? Probably not. Probably not. Does that help you?
Yes. Well, I kind of figured that anyway.
But
I just wanted to actually
But
hear
which
you
ones?
say it.
But which ones? You'll never know.
She also asked about topics. Are there certain areas that you
No, you know what? In my entire broadcast career, never once have I shied away from any topic that I've wanted to touch, other than there are some that I don't think are appropriate for the show. We're not going to do programs on the pluses or minuses of abortion and issues like that. I think there are other venues for that. But in terms of topics, or have I ever been told not to cover something? Never, ever.
I only asked that, George, because when I used to listen to Art in the 90s, I got the impression that at some point along the way there were things being discussed that he stopped discussing for various reasons. They were rumors, obviously, since I don't know Art personally,
right.
But that's maybe why I thought that those things may have extended to your show as well.
No, and if they did, I'd tell you.
Thanks for your questions. Thanks for coming down to Talkfest. Hello, sir. Good afternoon. What's your name?
Ray.
Hi, Ray.
How you doing? George, I'm sorry to say I've never heard your show. I've never listened to Art Bell.
Then what the heck are you doing here?
Well, I knew that you were going to be here, so somebody told me about you, so I came here from 2 to 4, like they said.
Well, good. Good to have you here.
I saw people asking questions, so I thought maybe I could ask a few questions myself.
Sure.
Some people might remember Project UFO a while back on Cable Access TV, or maybe Unsolved Mysteries, the Men in Black mystery. Unsolved Mysteries, anybody? Okay. That was me. That was me.
That was you.
That was me. I'm surprised that you guys aren't talking about the TR-3B. Do you know what that is?
Tell me about the TR-3B.
Do you have the computer in front of you?
Not that it's on.
Not that it's on, okay.
This is radio.
Well, when y'all get home, Google T as in Tom, R, 3, B as in boy, and you'll find out what that is. It's what they're seeing up in Stephenville right now. Our military has it.
Now, how can they have anything that big?
It's 3 football fields in length, 3
Yeah.
stories high, and capable of intergalactic travel.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can find that out.
Now, I do know we do have some triangular-shaped craft,
Yeah.
but I never knew it was that big.
Well, there was a TR-3A that was the first one, but it was like a fighter. This is a TR-3.
Where did they build it?
Where do you think they built it? Area 51. Which now they moved everything to Colorado, Utah, Area 52.
Don't you think somebody would have said something?
I'm here.
You should be a guest. Catch that man. You never listen to the program. He's now told us something and he's gone. Who was he?
We'll find out.
He was a disinformation specialist.
All right, we'll get more of your questions. Plus, Alex Jones joins us after the news on KLBJ. And much, much more with George Noory of Coast to Coast AM. It's Talkfest 2008 live at the Austin Convention Center. How about another big round of applause for Mr. George Noory? Yes. So don't go anywhere. I'm Mark Caesar. More coming up right after the news here on KLBJ.
There's Alex. What's happening, brother?
You look good.
Hard-working young man. How are you?
Close.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Is that George?
It's George Noory right there.
Right there? That's deception.
Hey, Alex, who did the autopsy on Oswald? How about that?
What's your last name?
Rudy.
Paul?
Isn't that cool?
Yes, sir. In fact, I got your phone number from Jim Mars just the
Alex
other day.
Yeah.
And I want to interview you for a film I'm making about JFK. I was in Dallas with St. John Hunt last week.
Yeah? Is that right?
Yeah, and Mars was saying I had to interview you because he said years ago he was the first to talk to you about how the Secret Service made you take Oswald's hand and put it on the gun at the mortuary, right?
That's right. In my morgue is where they did it, and they left his hand all dirty, and I had to clean it up because they had the ink on his hand so they could print.
You're kind of the guru of this, George.
You don't need to hear me.
Coast to coast. It's time to give a big KLBJ welcome to the man who keeps you stimulated throughout the late night airwaves. Live from the Austin Convention Center. Once
They love you, George.
Well, I love them, Mark.
Great to have all of you with us here at the Austin Convention Center for Talkfest. I'm Mark Caesar with George Noory and the man that you enjoy every Sunday afternoon on KLBJ, Mr. Alex Jones. Alex, good afternoon.
Austin's own. I want to tell you a little story about Alex Jones. Must have been, what, 3 years ago? You were first on?
Oh, I think it was almost 5 now, George.
Oh, sorry, Alex.
Time is flying by.
Got an email from someone who said, you ought to consider having this Alex Jones guy on as a guest. And I said, who? And I started investigating and listening and looking at his websites, INFOWARS.com, PrisonPlanet.com.
That's PrisonPlanet.com, George.
And, you know, I said, you know what, this guy's right on. And this guy is not holding back like so many other talk show hosts do. This guy's putting his neck in the noose. I'm amazed this guy's still alive.
Well, George, it's not courage. I'm just can't control myself.
So I get a text from my sister in Detroit today, and she said, Mom loves Alex's show with you last night. I said, what do you mean Mom loves Alex's show with me last night?
Oh, God.
She loves him. She loves him. I gotta get his books. I gotta get his DVDs. I gotta get his message. And so you owe me books and DVDs.
I'm going to send you a huge shipment, George.
But
You're going to
anyways,
be sitting on crates of them.
I brought him in, and I got to tell you, I stuck my neck in the noose as well, because there were some people and some program directors in this country who were a little uneasy about me taking this direction with the guy who I call the Bulldog. But I felt that we owed this to you, that we as Americans owed something special, and that was somebody's ability to go through everything that's going on this planet, research it, interview it, and give you the answers so you can make up your own mind what the heck is going on. And I found that with you, Alex Jones.
Well, George, thank you. You know, when George says that they don't tell him what to say, he can do whatever he wants, that's true, because he had me on, and since then he's had a lot of other really hardcore, heavy-hitting guests and experts on. And George has never told me what I can or can't talk about, and that's something special when you have an audience of 16 million. And I talk a lot about this, but Bill O'Reilly, you know, the big ego, I'm not attacking him, I'm just saying he's a big ego. He's got 3 million viewers to his TV show a night, and they talk about the biggest thing since sliced bread on cable television. The audience is all broken up. George, in most cities, has over 30% of the total radio audience for the entire market, and in some areas, more than half of it. Half the people listening to radio, not just talk radio, but radio at night are listening to this guy. And then I had millions and millions of listeners and millions of people visiting my websites, but going back to 2003, when George first had me on, it was just absolutely explosive. And suddenly, we were getting about 2 million visitors a week to all the websites. We had 20+ million visitors in one day. So I guess his entire audience went over to the site, and then I could extrapolate that out with political movements and things that have changed and things that have happened. And so the major breakthrough, we're already having a huge effect, was George having me on. And now it is kosher, even on MSNBC with Jim Cramer, to say the Federal Reserve's private, they're ripping us off, they're private central bankers, New World Order, Ron Paul, yes, the gold's been stolen from Fort Knox. I mean, MSNBC, things I was talking about 10, 12 years ago, it's now happening, and that's why people who know my show, know the films I make, I don't just grovel and thank people unless there's a reason. And George Noory is such a classy guy, because most people in talk radio are egomaniacs, myself included, and they would never have another talk show host on. I actually do as well. And so George, this big guy, to literally reach down and to just energize everything I was doing and open so many doors. I just want to tell you that I thank him, and the country and the world should thank him, because now there are kids in Romania and Japan and everywhere else wearing INFOWARS.com t-shirts, and it's called Supernova. This is the guy right here. He's the fire starter. He lit the keg of TNT that's going to blow the New World Order sky high in the info war.
Oh, what the heck did I do? However, you may kiss my ring, Alex.
All right, there you go.
But we need a watchdog like this in this country, because nobody else is going to do it. They're going to tell you what they want you to think, and they'll keep going on their merry way. I don't agree with everything Alex Jones says. He knows that. But I do agree with his right to say it, and I do agree with his right to investigate it. And honestly, after he says what he says, there's a lot of truth to it. There's a lot of truth to it. He does not make these stories up. He goes and finds them, investigates them. Then he comes up with opinions. But he just doesn't spout off. He doesn't say Building 7 just fell on its own. He goes and investigates and finds out that the owner said,
yeah, we made the decision to pull it and gave the order and watched the building come down, and now I've gone to New York and interviewed the firefighters. You know, there's CNN footage live of the firefighters. It's on YouTube, saying, get back, they're going to bring it down. And I went and interviewed the firefighters and said, yeah, this countdown out of nowhere comes in 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, right down. But so much of what I do is talk about things that were forgotten. You know, we all hear the rumor that Gulf of Tonkin, that got us into Vietnam in 1964, was staged and was a false flag event. Well, it's only rumor because people didn't go find the San Diego Tribune articles from '64 when officers got off the ships and said it was staged. It was never a rumor. There was a congressional investigation. Now they've released the presidential tapes. Now it's been fully declassified that it was staged, and people say, how did you know? It was always there. Really, years ago, you pointed something out to me, I think 3 or 4 years ago, that I hadn't even really thought about myself. What I do is not even that special. I collect, I aggregate. What was the term you used? I go out and I get the info that's fallen through the cracks, and then I put it together in a mosaic.
You're an assembler, and you're a good one.
This is weird up here talking about myself. Let's talk about George and Mark Caesar over here.
No. Let me ask you all a question. By your shouts and screams, 2001, after 9/11, how many of you felt patriotic, and how many of you felt necessary to go into Afghanistan to do what we needed to do? I did. How many did? How many did?
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Do you feel as if that mission was accomplished?
No.
Are you disappointed that it wasn't accomplished?
No.
I'm not even worried about bin Laden. Hell, who's he?
It just ain't happened yet.
How many of you feel tricked? That says it all.
Well, I know this. More and more things are coming to light, and it actually scares me because in my wildest dreams, I never imagined that people would be waking up this fast. And like I said on the show last night, I have had a chance to meet retired four-star generals, well-known people that are worth $5, $6, $7 billion. They're moving out of the country. We're going down with the ship. We're going to fight for this country. But even within the elite, a lot of people weren't on board with this whole system, and now they're finding out it really is true. And we're at a crossroads. The big question now here is the New World Order going to get away with what they're doing, or is this awakening taking place going to be enough to short-circuit their operation and back them off? I hope that's the case, but 3 years ago on the show, we went to Bilderberg, we covered it. We went to it again last year and the year before that, covering it. And we came out and said, you said, Alex, what's the news from Bilderberg? They're going to pop the subprime mortgage. They're going to artificially implode the economy so they can consolidate the financial infrastructure. And did it come true? The proof is really in the pudding of the hardcore guests, not just myself, but Daniel Estelin and many others that you've had on the financial news. I remember you 4 or 5 years ago talking about the mortgage market and what was happening there and all the liquidity. George, it wasn't just me talking about it. Frankly, to toot George's horn here, I've never been on another national show, and I've been on quite a few, where the host actually even knows what I'm talking about. And George just doesn't know what I'm talking about. He has the details and even tells me quite a few things I didn't know. And so I think that's why Coast to Coast AM just continues to grow with George Noory at the helm. And that's why we all need to spread the word in all the cities where people are out there listening about the broadcast.
Second largest radio show now in the country, thanks to you. 500 stations. And there's one more person we want to topple in terms of total stations, and we were getting closer.
In an average week, how many people are listening now?
Average week, probably, as Alex said, during the entire week, at any given time, 16 million people possibly.
Phenomenal.
It ranges during any given day, 3 to 5 million people popping in and popping out.
Now, I've looked at the demographics. I've looked at the demographics, done my own analysis. That's rated 16 million, but if you look at the overall aggregate and then internet, and you add into all that the YouTube, people taking clips, and then the people passing on CDs, I would say it's closer to 30 million a week.
That's generous, but thank you.
Well, it does have an incredible impact. You want to take a couple more questions now?
Yeah, you got some time?
We're
break?
good all the way down to the news. And this half hour, it's 3:18 after 3. Sir, good afternoon. You're on KLBJ with George Noory and Alex Jones. What's your first name?
What a pleasure. I'm Greg on the south side here in Austin.
Hey, Greg.
And I want to say what an absolute pleasure it is for me to be here today to see the faces behind the voices that I hear throughout the day and through the night.
We have faces for radio, don't we?
George, I'm glad that you like to come to this town once a year. And I'd really like to extend an invitation, invite you here again even once more. And I can't remember the date, but I know it's coming up soon. And I'm sure that there's plenty of fellas in here to tell you when exactly. Alex, you might know. when is Eeyore's birthday?
You know, I don't know when Igor's birthday
George, inquire about Eeyore's birthday. It's here in the spring. I think it's towards the end of March. And is it towards April? Last weekend of April. It is a day-long event.
It's about 10,000 people on LSD.
But now,
You know, I didn't do that in my college days, but I did open up a window to a lot of people.
Yeah.
it will give you the opportunity to put faces towards some of these stories that you hear every night.
All right. Eeyore's birthday. Who's Eeyore?
Well, Eeyore,
He's sad in the Winnie the Pooh story.
Winnie the Pooh, the donkey.
Yeah, okay.
And the hippies all run around worshiping him.
All right, I thought this was something new here in Austin.
Well, no, it's because Eeyore never got a birthday. And because Eeyore never got a birthday party, and when
You know what I think?
they have
I
a
think
birthday
Eeyore's with
party
Al
every
Qaeda.
year.
Thank you. We'll come back for that.
All right.
You should.
You got it.
Thanks a lot.
We
Appreciate
need to
it.
investigate Igor. He's with Bin Laden.
Eeyore, not Igor.
Whatever.
Igor.
Igor's
the guy with the hump.
I know.
Frankenstein.
I know, it's a joke.
Eeyore.
I know.
Good afternoon, sir. What's your first name? You're on KLBJ with George Noory and Alex Jones.
I'm Sal, and it's a treat to be in person with you, George, and Alex both.
Thank you, Sal.
And,
Lord Noory, by the way.
No, stop it, Alex.
I'm his apprentice. He actually.
However,
You have done well, Lord Jones.
I will, however, leave my car in about 35 minutes.
Yes, sir.
I'll get it for you. Well, you know, connecting the last segment to this segment, we talked about shadow people on the last segment. And I just wanted to say shadow people comes from Greek tradition, and with Greek theater, speaking outward like you two are doing, you projected outward and admonished people for their wrongdoing and or trying to bring awareness and unity to the crowd. And that's exactly what you're doing. And the last...
The town criers.
I'm sorry?
Kind of the town criers.
That's right.
More like the court jester.
Yes.
I really appreciate this facilitation of unity that you're bringing on board.
Thank you,
This is
Sal.
great. And I wanted to just feel your presence. That's why I showed up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
There's a presence I've felt since.
Good afternoon, sir.
You really are certified.
Hey, well, you've seen that line in Network. I was telling the story earlier today where Howard Beale comes in to talk to the head of the corporation. They're wanting to censor him with what he's talking about with the New World Order. And he says, "How are you doing, Mr. Beale?" And he says, "I'm mad as a hatter." And he goes, "Aren't we all? Have a seat."
You do know after I fell into this 8-foot hole last night, after I went back to my room and looked at the back of my jacket, it had your handprints on my back.
I was like, "George, look at this cliff over here." I was trying to show him the bats and get up on the bridge. There.
He's,
I was like Gollum.
He's involved in a conspiracy all the way.
That's right.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. What's your name?
My name is Bob. Good afternoon, George.
Hey,
Thank you
Bob.
for coming to Austin. First, I'll have to compliment your show on its bumper music. It's out of this world. I especially love Inca Dance. Do you choose the rotation? or is
We
it-
all pick. Generally, when you're going to hear some of the strange older stuff, I probably did that.
My question
Dean
is-
Martin singing "That's Amore," I probably.
What's the name of the theme song, the intro song?
That's Midnight Express.
Out of all the shows you've done, I know I'm handing you a tough one, but who is the most memorial guest you've ever had on your show? And out of all the calls you've got, is there one particular call that really sticks in your mind as being an unusual call? I know that's a tough one out of all you've had.
Well, there are a couple things. Of course, we all know JC when he calls and rants, and he was handed down to me from Art. I kind of wish JC would have retired when Art did, but I guess he stayed around. That he's a strange duck. But in terms of the calls, you know, they all stick out every once in a while. They're all different, but the ones you remember the most are the calls from the person who's alone at night, who might be suicidal, and you turn their life around for that moment. And that you know in your heart, you really know that they're going to listen again the next night and the next night. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why I work holidays on a scheduled work day, because there's so many people out there who do not have the luxury of having a family, that they have fallen in love with this program. and that this program is their family. And you all know what I'm talking about. You have that special feeling in this program.
You know, we visit...
it's those kind of folks. You know, the ones you truly touch. One of my favorites, of course, though, was the woman who called me and said, George, there are no more stars. They're gone. And I went on with her for about 15 minutes, convincing her that all the stars had burned out. And then I got a call from a guy who was with his girlfriend in a hot tub who said, you're lying to us. I can see, well, maybe 2 stars. But I remember them all.
Well, I mean, we visit my grandmother every week. She lives here in Austin, 80-something years old. She's listening right now, but she just loves you. She's ended up becoming nocturnal for the show because she listens on 590. I want to say hi to her. You know, my children call her Gigi because she's their grandmother. But she talks about you, you know, like you're her, you know, personal friend. And so you have so many, I mean, it's the dichotomy. There's a lot of other big national shows that have certain audiences, maybe the old or the middle-aged or the young. But you, and I've seen the demographics, I've seen the local ratings, it is just an incredibly diverse across race, across age. You've got 15-year-olds listening. You've got 82-year-olds listening.
I don't know why it is such a phenomenon right now. You know, Art gave me an incredible platform to work from. You know, it's kind of nice to be given something that is so strong from the get-go. And you know, maybe I was smart enough to maintain it and to grow it a little bit and to put my own spin on it, as he always told me to do. And I'm sure there are some nights he'll listen to the show and his eyes will roll. Oh, I know his eyes will roll. But I am who I am. I'm different, and you know, this society and this world has changed over the last 7 years, and the program needed to change with it a little bit too.
I think when you were here last year, you said you had never met.
I finally got to meet him. I met him in March when he was given a Lifetime Achievement Award, and they gave me the distinction and honor to introduce him. So I pulled out some old clips of Art when little things happened to him on the air, and we just had a great time.
Remember the super glue?
Yeah, I remember that episode.
Sir, good afternoon. You're on KLBJ 326. What's your name? Nice to have you with us.
Thank you. My name's Dave, and I'm a native Austinite. And I just have a comment. Want to thank y'all for being patriots, and thank you for getting the message out there to information and spreading awareness. And the best defense against tyranny is a well-informed and well-armed populace.
Absolutely.
And I think that everybody should try Streamlink out. I understand you have a free Streamlink
weekend's coming up in February.
I encourage everybody to check that out. That way, it'll literally bring these ideas that exist in the nighttime into the daylight, literally.
And David, of course, is the center for the Dallas Mavericks.
Maybe one day. Yeah.
You know, last night you wanted to get into the Second Amendment, we never did, but that really is under attack.
Yeah. Hi.
How's it going? I'm Eric from San Marcos.
Hi, Eric.
Yeah, I'd like to say I wish that KLBJ would take out the rush time slot and put Alex Jones there. I think he'd be a lot better in this world.
Well, I am live on the air at that time, but I also do a syndicated Sunday show, and I'm happy with that.
I lose my lunch every time I hear that around noontime.
But don't forget, he's the reason why we talk show hosts are here right now.
But to
he saw that vision.
Do a complete 180. I don't mean anything bad by this, but it is predicted, it's actually prophesied in Revelations of the one world government, and it will happen. And when it does happen, I just ask everybody to keep your faith in the Creator and God, because He will see you through. Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks.
All right, thanks for coming down today. Hi, sir. Good afternoon. You're on KLBJ. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Josué Sola, and I was born in Monterrey, Mexico, but I live in Austin.
Hola.
Hola.
That's my word. That's it.
Vaya con Dios.
Well, that's goodbye. Anyways, I want to thank you very much, George, for the show. I enjoy it very much every night. But I have a question for Alex. I saw your TV, like a video where you actually ended up going into this forest where they were doing a sacrifice.
Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, Bohemian Grove, actually, and they had the owl
Sure.
and everything. Well, you showed that there was a person, you just said something about a sacrifice, and it looked like there was a person. You never explained on the show if a person did got sacrificed.
Well, you're probably watching the local TV show where I played a clip. Was it?
Or he got your DVD. Was it on commercial television? TV.
It was on TV.
So it was me at a desk and I played a clip.
You played, no. You were actually showing it. You had a camera on your belt or something.
Okay.
And you're walking around and.
Let me just give it to you in a nutshell. In 1999, Channel 4 from England was doing a documentary about me, and they wrote a book, New York Times bestseller called Them, that I'm in. That, by the way, Jack Black's making a movie out of. That's coming out in about 2 years. He's going to make fun of me in the movie, but hey, I love it.
Spell the name right.
Any publicity is good publicity, exactly. But John Ronson was basically scared to sneak in. They couldn't because of liability. This was major international television, World of Wonder. It also aired here in the U.S. And he said, no, they really do rituals. And I said, I wasn't, in 1999, I wasn't talking about satanic rituals. I was even a lot more mainstream with the Federal Reserve and the New World Order, just basic stuff. And I said, I don't believe that patriot kook stuff they're doing rituals. He says, no, we've got somebody inside there. The world elite really go there. Let me show you some newspaper clippings. They worship this big stone owl. They burn an effigy of a child to it. And I said, fine, you fly me out there. You pay to fly my crew out there, because I'd infiltrated some special forces ops. They had seen that in some of my earlier films. I tracked Delta Force, climbed through swamps, been chased by dune buggies in Florida, and so they knew I'd do it. I snuck in, infiltrated with Mike Hansen, and we went in, got the footage, and it was the night when they kick it off, July 15th, for 130 years now, and it got dark, and here they come out in the red and black robes, and they simulated a mix between Babylonian, Greeks and sacrifices, by the way. That's not popularly known, but it's in the history books. And then a mixture of a Faustian play where they're killing care. And it's a complex, kind of like voodoo ritual, where they're taking all the evil they've done, they believe in karma, and they take all that and put it on the effigy of the child as they kill innocents. And so our, quote, mainline Christian conservative leaders, predominantly Republicans, go there. Mainstream news reports, even the New York Post, Rupert Murdoch's publication reports, they fly in gay porn stars. Women aren't allowed in, and it's just, well, you've heard about Jeff Gannon in the White House.
Did somebody die, though?
No, they are, no, it's an effigy of a child, just like Anton LaVey did rituals, and they would do mock sacrifices.
All right, sir, thanks for that question. More with George Noory and Alex Jones coming up from Talkfest live at the Austin Convention Center right after the news on KLBJ.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. The head?
You signed that.
I'm having fun today because this is a fun event. Actually, a very serious transmission. There you go.
I signed it.
Oh, you already signed it. Look there. Mark, want to get Mark to sign it?
Thank you.
Kenny Romar tonight's going to be doing an interview with this alien. Kenny told me he's doing UFOs tonight, why.
Oh, that's right. He's doing Stephenville.
Hey, I might ask you about the mainstreaming of it now with Larry King Live talking about it. Isn't that incredible? Yeah, they're kind of making us passe, but now we're always on the cutting edge. Yeah. Just looking into your crystal ball in the next year, the next 2 years, I mean, you saw this a long time ago coming when you really started shifting some of the format of Coast to Coast AM, into, the really hardcore, up-to-date news and analysis with what's happening with the New World Order. Well, first off, why did you start shifting the show quite a few degrees into that 5 years ago?
I had to. I had to be responsible. I could not go on the air every night and talk about the fun, entertaining, and provocative things that we always do and still do, but things are too serious now. I mean, I love talking about UFOs. I love talking about ghosts. I love talking about Bigfoot. It's the staple of the program. But if you do that every night, on a mass audience basis that Coast to Coast has, millions of listeners, 500 stations, XM satellite, Streamlink, and do not touch on the issues that affect our lives, we are wasting airwaves and we are wasting our ability to change. And I could not go back on myself and say, George, come on now. This world is way too serious. We have got to make some change. We've got to make an imprint in life, and that's why I decided to make that change.
George, I think you really did in a lot of ways open doors for people in the alternative media, because since you've been bringing on people to your 16 million plus audience every night, I have just seen so many changes, and I talk to so many people on the street when I'm in England or Mexico or New York City, and they say, well, I first started waking up to the New World Order listening to George Noory and the guest he was having on. I mean, what does that feel like, A, and B, I mean, are you aware of the big effect you've had?
You know, you wake up every morning and you pinch yourself and you say, are we really doing this? Are we really having this kind of an effect? But Alex, I got to tell you, the compliment goes to you, because years ago, when I started getting emails from listeners saying, you've got to listen to this Alex Jones guy, and as you well know, I poo-pooed it right away because you were a talk show host, and I didn't want to put you on, but I started listening to you. I took the due diligence to listen to you, and I said, you know, George, you have got to be above this. He's got his own talk show, so what? His message needs to be heard by a larger audience.
Well, I have to say, no other national talk show host would do that, and much less the second most listened to talk show host after Limbaugh in the country. That takes a lot of confidence to be able to do that.
Well, and we did, and you've made a world of difference, not only for the Coast listeners, but I think for this country, because what has happened to you is the message is getting out. You get interviewed on C-SPAN now, you're all over the place. I got a text this morning from my sister who said my mother, who's in their late 70s in Detroit, wants Alex Jones's books, wants his DVDs. I happen to have an in. I think I can help her.
They're in the mail.
Yeah. And she said she's obsessed with him. I've never heard her so obsessed about any guest you've ever had.
That's crazy. Your mom?
Yeah, she forgot about me.
Oh, no.
Of the Republican Party, which is why McCain
signed that for you?
shots in them. It's fascinating to me, folks. Here we have Republican primaries in which Democrats and independents are determined.
I love it.
It's important that you understand.
That's more Gellers. Give this to her. Tell Nancy.
Welcome back to Talkfest 2008. Once again, here's George Noory.
Big round of applause for Mr. George Noory, please. It's Coast to Coast AM. George does very few of these visits to affiliates throughout the year, so we're very honored to have him here. It's a special occasion. And how many of these do you do in a year, George?
Well, you know, we have 500 stations, so that's 500 different markets, and I do about 3 a year.
That's a great compliment to all of you all, and we're very honored to have you here.
One of
Thank you very
them
much.
is Los Angeles, so I really do 2 a year, I guess you could say.
Well, thank you. It's very cool to have you here. It's a great honor. Alex Jones is with us as well. You enjoy his show every Sunday afternoon on KLBJ and during the week as well. He's got a great show, a national show. 3:38 now as we take you up to 4 o'clock with Talkfest here live at the Austin Convention Center.
Do you know why I call Alex Mark the Bulldog?
Why do you call him the Bulldog?
Because once he bites you, he does not let go. And that's a sign of a good journalist.
Yes.
You're very sweet, George. But why do you pick to come to Austin? Because I feel blessed. I love getting to see you once a year. I mean, it's one of the treats of the year.
I like it. It's close to St. Louis, where I go back and
Sometime
forth.
you ought to come on vacation here, and we'll take you out on Lake Travis, cruise around.
What's a vacation?
Well, I don't get many either, but I mean, just sometime, come spend 2 or 3 days. We'll take you out on a boat, Lake Travis, in the summer, you know, big canyons.
I'll go the way of Natalie Wood with you. I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, no, but...
Coast to Coast with Alex Jones. I bet you like that ring, don't you?
I don't know.
That's what this is all about.
Your show is more complex and multifaceted than mine. Mine is political warfare. And so it's basically, you know what it is.
After 1 week of listening to you on Coast to Coast, you would have governments surrender. They just give up.
I doubt that. I think you've got them ready to surrender with the smooth operator. That's what you're doing. Sneaking up on them.
Very good. Let's take some more questions from the floor here at Talkfest on KLBJ. Good afternoon, sir. What's your name?
My name is James.
Hey,
From
James.
Austin here. I'd like to welcome you to Austin, George Noory.
Yeah!
I'm a morning listener of your show. I have to listen via Streamlink.
You can, sure.
I wanted to ask Alex a question. On the beginning of your movie, The Endgame, Blueprint to Global Enslavement, You showed the Georgia Guidestones.
Yes.
Could you elaborate on this a little bit
Great
for us
story.
to give a little bit
Well, I'll
more-
just briefly elaborate. There's several Rosicrucian orders, but the Rosicrucians, we've now discovered who got it. Decades ago, when bought this property, they put up these giant monoliths, and it says that basically what the UN and others say: reduce the world population to 500 million, and it's a cultic monument to how they want to do this. And this is their end game. This is their main goal. So we show that at the first and at the end of the film, because these are very, very serious people. But it's not just the Georgia Guidestone; it's codified into the international policies of the United Nations, into most of the large foundations. Their goal is to wage war against humanity. The elite see us as a scourge. Their religion is enslaving us, dumbing us down, and killing us, and that's what they do. It's a very happy thought, I know, but at least we know what they're up to, and that's the good news we're exposing it. I know, George, you've covered the Georgia Guidestones.
We've done that, but you know what? I wanted to ask you, Alex, and you touched on it last night on the program. What's the single most important facet of what you do that is beginning to concern you more than anything?
You mean what area of the world worries me most?
I don't mean geographically. I mean, what issue? Is it this push to control population?
I mean, obviously, the overall arching system of studying human activity, sociology, psychology, openly being, I mean, they write textbooks on it, to dumb down and control and divide and conquer the population. But of all the things they're doing that makes them the most reckless is their public development of race-specific bioweapons that target blacks, Asians, whites, I mean, even, subgroups of, different varieties of Homo sapiens sapien, and all of the thousands and thousands of open-air testing of pharmacological crops, the genetic engineering of the food supply, all the top scientists and others I've interviewed, where they, give a GMO potato that's been approved to the rats, and all the rats die. I mean, just this is an environmental holocaust that's happening, and instead the very same globalists have founded and control the mainline environmental movement, which they're just pushing a global carbon tax to regulate and run our lives and fund their world government and tax CO2 that plants breathe. So they create the crisis, and they always come out with another false solution that gives them even more control. And there's already just incredible environmental degradation and problems in the biosphere, vandalism of the very genetic code of the planet, the life forms on the planet that interact together, and that's my greatest concern. I think it's more dangerous than the nuclear weapons, the atom bomb, of course, developing of the hydrogen bomb, and the neutron weapons they have, and all the other classified. The Air Force admits they've created antimatter bombs, but won't go further than that. They can destroy the whole solar system. That was in the San Francisco Chronicle. Nobody gave it any attention. It's just these people are nihilistic. They love death. Look at Caligula marrying his horse. Look at Nero going crazy and killing, half the leadership of Rome. Throughout history, psychopaths get into control. They want the power. And then once they get in that position, they just start killing people. And the greatest cause of unnatural death is governments. It's not guns. It's not automobiles. After cancer and heart attacks, natural cause of death, it's government. Government killed over 200 million people in the 20th century. And the very same families that engineered that are now engineering a mass attack on humanity. And I wish this wasn't the truth. It's a fact, and that's what Endgame's all about.
All right, good. We've got some callers.
Happy time.
Yeah. Hi, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Hello, this is Shirley from north of the river. And both of you are very, very careful not to ask for followers, but to ask for people to be individually empowered. George never tells us what to think. Alex tells us what he thinks, but he's very explicit about always saying, I am not your leader. You have to go out and do that yourself. So I would like for one or both of you to talk about how the individual person can take some of the material that you're delivering and do something active about it.
Well, I think the reality of all that is that you need to create a life for yourself and the people you care about and make it the very best you can. And if everybody does that on an individual basis, it begins to grow and grow and grow. You can't do this by yourself. Alex can't do it by himself.
That's right.
We need everybody together to do it, and the only way you're going to do it is to begin to do it first at home with the people you care about.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because it's the truth. It's veritas. A, I don't want to be some cult leader. I don't like people following me. I'm actually a very private person, and probably a very calm, quiet person. I get excited when I talk about these issues. My brain starts going. But I don't want people to follow me, not just because I don't like it, but I mean, I don't like that as well, but mainly because it's individually we're going to take this planet back. Individually, we're going to change the world. We wouldn't have this corrupt elite if we hadn't gotten decadent and corrupt and, tuned out of what was happening. I'm trying to get people to just question, look outside the box, question everything. That's why I love Coast to Coast AM, because they do that. They get people thinking, even if you don't agree with all of it, and George doesn't agree with all the guests he has on, even me. I don't agree with everything I even cover, the guests I have on all the time. It's that we're trying to get people thinking. We're trying to find the truth. That's the mystery of life. That's what it's really all about. And so if we start just taking care of each other and not fighting with each other and thinking and debating, that's what's going to bring us, towards the light instead of towards the darkness.
Thank you.
Thanks for that question, man. Hi, sir. Good afternoon. What's your first name? You're on KLVJ.
Greetings and peace. Pleasure to meet you here. Apologies if I stay anonymous. I'm from the U.S. I'm just one of those kids here. All right. The information that you present about the possibility of people conspiring towards a one-world government is, shall we say, serious, and something that those of us who are listening to you really cannot afford to not be skeptic about. Peace. These are serious things that, if are true, will be affecting all of our lives in most fundamental ways. Abilities to feed ourselves and our families and our children. What I have here is simply a request. I first have to thank you for the work that you've done, because perhaps just getting it out there, step one. But now that so many people are perhaps listening and listening very closely, if you can, search your hearts and ask yourself what you really believe, and see if, when presenting this, you can do it without getting caught up in any drama yourself. Because, peace, if this is real, we need as grounded and honest and sober look at this situation as possible. And we need to start moving to the next step of asking what we'll do and where we'll plant our crops. Thank you.
Well said. Well said. That's phase 2.
You want to take that out?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, number one, I'm out of control. So I'm not, if I spent my time calculating...
Absolutely
yes.
Out of control.
I mean, if I spent my time calculating, I soberly, calmly come to my conclusion, and then I present it sometimes calm, sometimes wild. It's whatever mood I'm in. But again, it's not up to me to even present it all perfectly or be perfect. I'm not Jesus. It's up to you, as you said, to not believe what I'm saying, to go investigate it, and to find out if I tell you an SPP document the Judicial Watch sued to get from the federal government says they're setting up a North American Union. I want you to go to the Judicial Watch website. I want you to get those documents. I want you to call the phone numbers that are on those documents. I want you to find out that's true. I am telling you the truth. Believe me, I got about a 98% accuracy rate. I wish this stuff wasn't true. I told you 2-3 years ago that, the point is that it's up to you what you do individually. I can't tell you what to do about all this. I don't think you can tell me how to present all of this. And you say, well, we know now. What's the next step? I don't think we're done with step 1 yet of getting people awake to the threat. A lot of people are awake, and it's growing faster. But, George, what is step 2?
Step 2 is exactly what he said. Now we have to continue stepping up to the plate. We have done, I think, the best job we can to let this world know that something's going on. How many of you feel it? You know it's going to happen, right? Good or bad, something is going to happen. And as I've always said on the program, we're all in this together. It's not just you or you or you. This is a collective thing. I don't want you to wake up one morning if you see another 9/11 tragedy, however it may occur, and think you're isolated. You're all by yourself. You're depressed. It's all over for you. That's not the case. This is a big planet, and we continue to band together, and you're going to see the remarkable change eventually it will make. There's too many of us for them to beat. There really is. And one day, we'll be the ones in charge.
Very good. More coming up with George Noory and Alex Jones. It's Talkfest live at the Austin Convention Center, 350. Don't go anywhere. More coming up just ahead.
Tell us an interesting behind-the-scenes story, something somebody's ever heard, or something that's not popularly known.
First thing that comes to my mind, one night we're doing open lines, it's Friday night, and George, he's joking around, and he says, he's talking to a caller, and the caller says, how do you do it, George? You just, you know so much about everything. And George says, you know what? I'm not a human, I'm a robot. I'm the network's robot. So he says this. So now I'm in the producer's booth and I'm talking to people, putting them on the air to talk to George, and a lady calls in and she says, oh my God, is he really a robot? And this woman really buys this. And we're just having fun with the audience, And so I decided to have a little fun with her before I put her up to George, and I said, yeah, ma'am, I said, we don't really talk about this. I said, what did George say? I didn't hear him. And she said, well, he just told us all he's a robot. And I said, he wasn't supposed to say that, but yeah, he really is. And she says, you're kidding. I said, no. And I said, oh, ma'am, hold on. And I put her on hold, like a panic, right? And I came back to her, and I said, I'm sorry about that. His arm just fell off, and we just had to reattach it and replace some batteries. And this woman was just, oh my God. And then I strung her along, and I finally told her the truth. So.
Good afternoon, I'm Mark Caesar with George Noory and Alex Jones live at the Austin Convention Center. And it's great to see all of you down here this afternoon. We really love putting on Talkfest for you. And George, I know in these last few minutes you want to have an opportunity to say thanks to all the great folks in Austin.
Absolutely. What a great crowd. Once again, every year, everybody in Austin just comes out here with the KLBJ Talkfest and just does a superb job supporting us and being part of this. And I want to thank all of you for making my continual stay at Coast to Coast as comfortable as it is. It was not very easy for me to come in there and do what I had to do, but many of you, and I mean a tremendous amount of you, were so supportive in emails, and letters, and phone calls, and just listening to the show. It meant a lot to me. And I will continue to come out here as long as you want me to, and as long as the man upstairs allows me to.
That is great.
And make this one of my homes. I mean, you have
truly
touched my heart.
Well, thank you, George. We love what you do, and it's an honor to have you here. We're thrilled, and thank you so much.
Anytime.
It's great to have you here. All right, sir, we'll squeeze in one or two more questions. How are you today? What's your name?
I'm doing good. My name's Arjuna, and it's always nice to see you, Alex and George.
Arjuna,
welcome.
Good to see you.
I have a quick question. You, the other day on your show, you had mentioned you had talked to somebody from NASA who was leaking information about an asteroid that had a 50-50 chance.
You saved the best question for the last.
What is the update on that?
David Sereda was our guest. He's talked to a NASA expert. There is an asteroid that is coming very close to the planet on January 29th, Tuesday, I believe. And he thinks there's a 50-50 chance of it hitting the planet. Most astronomers do not think it's going to hit the planet, and I want to make sure everybody understands that. Most astronomers say it's not going to hit the planet.
The problem is there's so many of these rocks, and until 20 years ago, with the Shoemaker-Levy discovery, with it striking Saturn, or was it Jupiter? I forget. They now know that so many of these really do hit, and it isn't every million years, it's every few thousand. Remember what happened in Siberia?
Yeah. We'll be on the air that night, and if for some reason you hear me go, you know it hit.
Thank you.
Your engineer's going nuts. What did he just do to my microphone?
I know. All right, sir, step up to the microphone. You're on KLBJ with George Noory and Alex Jones. How are you? Go ahead, sir.
Hello.
Hi.
How you doing? It's a pleasure to be here. It's great to meet Alex. I had a quick question, maybe something to think about. I was thinking about ways we could fight back. And banks are generally, the way they work is with funding money, and they're overextended on their obligations. They very much depend on the flow of money to keep everything floating. And I was just wondering what would happen if we all started taking our money out of the bank.
Oh, you don't want to do that. They'll do it for you.
The central banks themselves are accelerating this contraction so they can consolidate and get all the smaller and medium-sized banks. The big central banks that actually issue liquidity, most banks don't, and issue currency, and we have all their documents, IMF and World Bank documents on this. Joseph Stiglitz, their chief economist, World Bank quit and went public 2002. They issued all this currency and credit to get the medium-sized banks and individuals overextended. So we want to keep the system from imploding because that's what they want.
Well said again, Alex. But keep your money in the bank.
It's just a thought.
I would hedge your bets. Diversify.
Great.
Thank you.
And thanks for listening, guys. We've got 2 minutes here. Any final thoughts, George, for the good folks here in
look,
Austin?
for those of you who really want information about what's happening on this planet, I invite you and implore you all to go to INFOWARS.com, PrisonPlanet.com. I'm serious. This man has done a remarkable amount of work. He's put his own funds into his projects. Unlike so many other people, he puts his money where his mouth is.
George, in closing, I wanted to thank you for all you've done, and Mark over there, but thank you, George. What a class act.
Stay healthy, my friend. I worry about you.
George looks younger every year I see him. I look older every year.
Yes.
All right, guys.
Get rid of those white sideburns.
Thanks so much, guys. Thanks to Alex Jones. George, thank you. Another phenomenal show. We really appreciate it. Thanks to all of you for coming down to Talkfest. We appreciate our sponsors as well. Have a safe trip to St. Louis, George. Thank you.
Yay! Hey, George, great job. Great job, folks. Awesome. Come on. Yeah.
Standing ovation for Mr. George Noory.
Right.
Yeah, very good. Alex Jones, thank you very much. Alex is on tomorrow afternoon at 4 on KLBJ. I'm Mark Caesar, and thanks so much for another phenomenal Talkfest here on KLBJ. We appreciate all of our sponsors and all of you listeners who came down to the Austin Convention Center today. Have a safe trip home. A good afternoon, and be sure to have KLBJ on your radio as you drive home from Talkfest at the Austin Convention Center. The news is coming up next on KLBJ.
I want to get back into the New World Order briefly because I know you're busy, George. I won't take up your time. But I do want to get into their master plan. You talked about last night. They underestimated the power of the people. I think they're scared now, in your own words. But let's talk about some of the other things you're doing. You're not just a multi-time Emmy Award-winning documentary filmmaker and a news producer. Tell us a little bit about your life going back to the Navy and now having one of the biggest talk shows in the world, and now where you're going with the Sci-Fi Channel.
Doing 5 shows for the Sci-Fi Network, and of course our books are constantly out there with my partner Bill Burns. I just want to be able to touch every facet of media, which is what I've done since I was 19. I'm 57 years old now, and I just want to be able to push it to the max for myself. I've always pushed myself, Alex, since I was a young kid. I've always thought I could do better. I don't listen to my shows once they're done. They're done, they're off the air, I won't listen to them. I can't stand listening to me.
I'm the same way.
You know what? And I won't. I'll critique myself and I'll get upset. I just move on to the next show. To me, the next show is the best show. But my plan is to continue to push forward with Coast to Coast. There's some people who want me to run for the presidency in 2012.
I've been hearing a big buzz about that.
I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I think I'll look at 2 things. 1, the state of the country at that particular time. And 2, my love of Coast to Coast, which is very strong right now. And I don't want to leave it. Though I wonder if I won and I got elected, if I could still do Coast to Coast out of the White House at night. Who's going to stop me, right?
We could have world leaders on. But I know you don't like to talk a lot about yourself, but let's go back for people that, because I've heard you talk a lot about this. Just briefly, growing up, did you ever have a feeling, because I know I did, that I was, meant to be involved in issues and try to help people, and that something was going to happen in my life, and it was all this foreshadowing. You personally, did you ever feel destiny or like an inkling of that you were going to end up being, this phenomenon?
I knew at a very young age that I was going to pursue the questions of the unknown. I had no idea at that time where it would take me or how I would go down that path. but I knew that was the path I wanted to go. And so my entire life was pushed down the path of trying to unravel the mysteries of the universe, of the world, of people, whether it's a health issue or a conspiracy or who killed JFK or where in the heck is Bigfoot. My life was geared to finding these mysteries. I wanted to be a news person to cover those stories. I wasn't too interested about the fire that, toppled some restaurant in Detroit or something. I wanted the unusual stories, and that's what I did.
Well, I think that some people can criticize exploring everything, but in a way that's a healthy exercise, because when you start looking at everything and expand your horizon, then a lot of blinders that we self-impose kind of open up.
All you got to do is look at the audience we've got here today in Austin, Texas. Every person who's come up to me has had their own ideas, their own views, and their own interests in a specific topic.